That's always a nice sound to start with, right? Okay, good morning. And how are all you beautiful people today? Hi. Good, good. I love seeing all these smiling, shining faces. So, welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living and to this social gathering, The Gift of Wisdom. Um, and I am Linda Connolly. I am a licensed practitioner with Science of Mind, and I'm feeling very blessed that I get to be a part of this gathering, to hear and be moved and gain the gift of wisdom from these 8 speakers that I know uh, each and every one of us will receive something from it, and we will not leave here the same as when we walk through the doors. So today we are honored to be in the presence of 8 ministers who have each walked unique and profound paths. Through their journeys, they have gained insights and understanding that have shaped not only their own lives, but also the communities they serve. So before we begin, I do have a few announcements. Books today are half price that are back there on the white book stand. If you have any questions, you can please see Vera. Or Juliet, pardon me, Juliet. There's also a draw for a Christmas basket. That yeah. Get a little. It was actually a push, not a pull. Okay.
Testing.
You know, what is it if you don't have a little hiccups along the way, right? So there's that draw for the Christmas basket. You can see Juliet. The tickets are 3 for $10 or $5 each. So now I have the honor of introducing our first speaker, which is Reverend Doug Craig. Now, I don't know you very well, but I have been honored to hear a couple of your talks while you've been here. But I see that you've instructed for 31 years, over 2 tenures, in the School of Business at the Southern Alberta Institute of Technology in Calgary. He has been actively involved in the New Thought movement for over 44 years. He founded the Red Deer CSL, thank you for that, in 1988, and served as its minister for 8 years. He served as an associate minister and a member of the board of the Joy of Life CSL with Dr. Nadine Rogers for 12 and a half years. Doug is currently a staff minister with Dr. Pat Campbell of the Calgary CSL for 6 years. Doug's extended ministry includes spiritual services that he provides, such as guest speaking, weddings, memorials, counseling, and self-development awareness classes. He is also in demand as a professional Santa Claus and for his custom experiences as a tour guide in the Canadian Rocky Mountains. Can you do that as Santa Claus? He is a genuine mountain man growing up in the Canadian Rocky Mountains. His primary message is attitude plus choice equals consequence. His personal motto is, if you change your attitude, you change your experience. Reverend Doug is well known for his passion with respect to the learning and application of spiritual principles. So, welcome, Reverend Doug.
Am I turned on yet? Whee! I'm just like that, what's the bunny that does that? Yeah. Well, good morning, everyone. This is a really interesting and unique experience because there's 37 plus years wrapped up in this, actually a little bit more than that. So normally start a talk at the beginning and go to the end. I'm going to do it a little bit different. I'm starting at the end and going to the beginning. And in addition to that, for all you other folks coming up to do a 20-minute talk, you are now officially cut back to 18.5 minutes because I've scooped the extra a minute and a half to give me 30.5 minutes, okay? And it's an executive decision, so if you like the math, I can't help it. So where am I right now? It can best be described in an album put out by the Moody Blues called On the Threshold of a Dream. Because I am on the threshold of delivering and bringing forward into form what I consider to be my legacy. And what is that? Well, I have my new partner here, AJ, and my team members, Allison and Joni, and we're involved in the company it's called the Transformation Guide Company. That's our business, and we have the Transformation Guide. It was a program that I developed in the first 11 years of my journey. Not all the courses I took, Science of Mind included, this was what was given to me uniquely and personally. In addition to that, on January 8th and 9th, it's scheduled production shooting for the last segment, 40 minutes of my documentary on my journey. The first 20 minutes is in a can, but I got some really interesting guests, like how many people would have their ex-wife being one of the stars on their movie? Not many, but Vera's going to be on it, so, you know. And then the other thing I'm in the process of doing is I finally figured out how to do my autobiography and book. Because it's hard to do it linear because there's so many avenues. So I'm doing it in segments. My 3 bad years, Santa Doug, Bad Boy Doug, Mountain Man Doug, Reverend Doug, and Businessman Doug. So I'm going to do it in that segment. So the program is the Transformation Guide. The documentary's called From the Outhouse to the Penthouse, and the book is called I Was a Prisoner of My Own Mind. So we're moving forward with that, and that's what I want to get done within the next year. That's my time frame, by the end of next year. So that's where I'm going, and this is where I've come to this point on my journey. And one of the greatest wisdoms, because I'm going to talk right now about some of the wisdom, which I consider 3 of the most important things that I've learned to date, and some of it is just what I'm recently involved in. But before we get to that, the most important thing that each and every one of us here can do is practice releasing the past. Because it doesn't matter the way it was, it's not relevant. It matters the way it is and what we do today to create tomorrow. So part of it is we all, no matter where we are in our journey, is have to get off our positions and let go. You have to learn to let go of the way it was because it's not relevant anymore. And embrace what could be and the way it's going to be, even though we don't know what it is. But it will be formulated by what we do today. So that's the wisdom. That's what's next. So the 3 points I want to make, the first one, which is the last one, is the dark night of the soul. I've done 3 talks on this recently in Red Deer, Edmonton, and at Unity in Calgary, or at Calgary. And it's a really deep thing because has anybody ever gone through one of those traumatic changes where you just get ripped apart and you don't really quite understand it's just change? Well, I never really knew until recently, and I investigated and found out and was given the wisdom this time from going through it to see what the dark night is about. by the way, it isn't modern, Spanish monk in the 1500s, St. John of the Cross, wrote it before he became a saint. They put him in prison. So the dark night of the soul has two distinct parts. The night of the senses, that's our physical human emotions. Then there's the night of the spirit. We're constantly doing the night of the senses when we're going through and having that emotional experience, but every now and again we make a leap by having the night of the spirit, which is the purification of the spirit. Much different, much deeper, very traumatic. And with the understanding and awareness of this, I'm garnering a way to be able to help people identify the difference and learning a way to coach people going through change, because there are two distinct types that we go through. And when they both hit at the same time, you get a real crap kicking. Anybody ever had those real crap kickings? I know everybody here has. And that's what happened. So that's where my work has taken me now, not by, oh, I think I'm going to go do this. No, that's not how it works. By getting immersed in it and having right in face and wondering, what's going on? And for the first time in all the years of change, in 46 years, 47 years, I guess, or whatever it is, 46 years, I now have an idea about change and how the two are different and how to manage them both. One's managed, actually, by program, the Transformation Guide manages a lot and teaches a lot about the night of the senses. But the night of the spirit can't be touched with the night of the senses. It has to be done spiritually. And it's all your faith that you have to recover, and that spiritual essence, even though you're feeling like crap and you're feeling like everything's gone to hell. Okay? So it's a matter of sticking with it. More to come on this one. One of the most valuable lessons I've ever learned, and I learned that before I come to Red Deer, and it's been reinforced I don't know how many countless times over the years. And Ann and I work with this every day of my life. I work with this and awareness of this. I work with 3 no's. No justifying. I don't have to justify the way I feel. Does anybody know why the way you feel all the time, why it's like that you feel that way? Oh, you try to say it's because of this or that, but do you really know? The answer is no. Can you really explain how a feeling is with you? You can't explain feelings. Everybody experiences feelings differently in their own unique way, and you cannot compare yourself to other people. Waste of time. Just like the dark night of the soul, can't compare yours to anybody else's, because if you do the research and understanding, everybody's dark night is different and particular to the individual. Just like the 3 no's, the no justifying, your feelings are yours, and very difficult to explain. Hard enough to talk about, but how do you explain it? I've been doing this for all these years, and I can't. I can talk about it, but I can't tell you how I feel. Because feeling isn't telling, it's experiencing. So don't try to justify the way you're feeling. Try to understand it, experience it, and learn from it. No blaming. Not even when you're looking in the mirror. You got to give that one up too. I remember my favorite story after a great talk I did at Unity in Calgary, and this lady come up to me and she said, "Oh, Reverend Doug, when you said that, you hurt my feelings." And of course, me being the kind, compassionate person that I am, not wanting to give her any BS, just to jolt her belief system, I said, "Dear, please don't give me all that power over your life. I don't want that much power over your life. Take it back. Say, Reverend Doug, when you said that, I chose to have my feelings hurt." I won't tell you what she said, but she turned around and stomped out, and I never seen her again. Boy, oh boy, do people want to give away their power. And they get ticked off at me for telling them it. But, you know, if you're coming and asking a question for truth, don't ask me. The rule when I worked at SAIT in the business department is don't ask Doug for his opinion unless you want it. The boss sent down the office manager, the whole business department, said, go ask Doug what you should do. He's got some good advice. This is my boss's boss. She come down and asked me. I said, you really want my opinion? Well, yeah. I said, well, you know that introductory management course we've got? Well, you should take it and apply the principles. There is a little bit of fallout from that, but you know, you gotta be prepared to deal with the fallout if you're going to tell truth. I remember I was talking with my partner AJ and another colleague that knows me that I did some work with that we're hiring to do our accounting and that, and we're in the conversation, and both of them didn't meet each other, and they both said at the same time, well, the one thing we like about Doug is no bullshit. Yep, put that in print. No bullshit. Okay? So you're not going to get it from me. Get it somewhere else. No blaming. The big one. This is it. No attachment to outcomes. Oh, God, thank you for the 3 exes wives I've got, that they teach me so damn much. Yeah. So I'm coming up to Red Deer, and I'm going to pick up my granddaughter in Innisfail from Calgary, a raging snowstorm, and my ex picks her up and takes her out half hour, so I can't get her to take her back, and I have to drive all the way back without her, Innisfail to Calgary in a snowstorm. Can you imagine what come up? And you know, it was so clear that it doesn't really matter what happens. The only impact that's going to have on me is if I choose it to. So I work with no attachment outcomes. So after that, I go and I get all these things. All the time it happens. You know, my partner, he's a young guy, he's got lots of stuff, calls me up. Hey, can you change the meeting at the last time? Yeah, no problem. Let's do it, yeah. No attachment to outcome. Expectations are nice, but no attachment to outcome. And you know, if you do this long enough, and you're that way, and just be yourself, you'll never know what kind of a result you'll get. August. 30 years after my second ex spoke to me last time at my mother's funeral, when all 3 of my exes were sitting having tea and biscuits. And she said, don't worry, Doug, we're not here for you, we're here for your mother. Yeah, well, I knew that. So I'm going to pick up my daughter and grandson. She's in from Quebec 5 years, and I'm going to meet him in Innisfail at Starbucks. So I'm going through all the scenarios that could happen. I'm not attached to the outcome. I'm not going to have a reaction over it. I'm going to step into the experience. It didn't quite work like that. I go there, she's not there. Oh, I'll go in and get a coffee and wait. I went in, I walked up, my glasses are blurry, walked up, and guess who's in line in front of me? She is. Okay, here you get to practice it, and I didn't do very good with this because she caught me off guard. She turned around and smiled and said, oh, hi, Doug, how you doing? Fine. Got an extra half hour, we could sit and talk and have a coffee and get caught up, and I'm going, okay. And I'm looking at my daughter, and she's going. So we sat down and had coffee and everything. It was really nice. Even paid me a compliment about how handsome and good-looking I am, and asked about, you know, other acquaintances. And at the end of it, she gave me a big hug and said, oh, well, we'll connect again. And I got to tell you, I thought I wasn't attached to outcomes, but I never expected that to happen. I was stunned. So what was different? After 30 years, what happened? Well, you see, I don't know. And I don't need to know. Because all I knew was I stood in the light in my interactions and just was the person I wanted to be in those situations and never got into all the other stuff. Now, if you'd have told me that was going to happen, I'd have paid for your professional counseling for myself because I didn't think you'd were on the money at all. No justifying, no blaming, and no attachment to outcomes. Expectation's good, mild disappointment, but no attachment. And then the other thing was probably the most important of the three going back in time is the line we walk. And I got inspired to, with a little bit, to tell you about the line we walk from an old song by an old country and western singer by the name of Johnny Cash, who wrote this song when he was a wild, crazy individual in his younger years for his first wife when he was going on tour, promising a commitment to her. Now, I'm going to just read a few words, but I don't want you to listen to this as a man talking to a woman. I'd like you to listen to this as an individual talking to their higher spiritual self. I keep a close watch on this heart of mine. I keep my eyes wide open all the time. I keep the ends out for the ties that bind. Because you're mine, I walk the line. Okay? And then there's the rest of it, which is really good. Actually, that was his first one, didn't work out good for him, and he met this other gal. I think her name was June Carter. You might have heard of her. And they kind of took up, and she was really wrapped up in Johnny just like him, but his wild and crazy lifestyle, mildly appealing, but he was, just scared her. And she said it's like jumping into a ring of fire. Anybody know the next song? Yeah. Okay, so that's how that kind of evolves. But the idea and the journey is you got to keep a close watch on your heart of mind and keep the eyes wide open all the time, and you got to walk the line. So what is the line? Well, here's the line. On this side of the line is self-rejection. This side of the line is self-acceptance. So everything is either self-rejection or self-acceptance. Every thought we have about ourselves in our life, everything we do is an action of self-rejection or self-acceptance. Like reaching for the cheesecake when you got Dunlap's disease and you're battling it. You know what Dunlap's disease is? It's when your belly Dunlaps over your belt. Okay? So, acceptance versus rejection. Acceptance is when we walk in faith. Rejection is when we walk in fear. You're either in one or the other all the time. And the fear is any of the negativity, blah, blah. And the faith is just walking with that, knowing that divine right action takes place and whatever it is that I need to do, know, or experience is provided to me, and my job is to step into it. Faith or fear. No other line. And when you're on the self-acceptance and the faith side, it's all about what I can do, what I can have, and what I am. Notice I didn't say what I want. Because sometimes you can't have what you want. Then you have a tendency to shift into the other side of the fence, the self-rejection, the fear, and then the what I can't have, what I can't do, and what I'm not. So you're always in one of those positions every time. And on the can do, can have, and am, it may not be the way you want it, but what you could do. I tell you when I really got that before I got into this, and it was a matter of survival and me not doing something really silly, which I almost did once. I mean, well, we don't want to go there. You can ask later. It was when my ex moved to Vancouver with my daughter for 5.5 years. I wasn't happy. And being the person I was when that happened, I had a different ways of conjuring up methods to deal with situations like that. They weren't healthy. And it took me to the edge because all it was, I can't have this and I can't have that. I can't do this and I can't do that. And what the hell's wrong with me? I'm this and this because I can't do all of those things. And did that make one bit of difference? No, because it was being done. So I thought, okay, let's shift. It wasn't just that simple. It took a bit of work. It's what I can do, what I can have, and what I am. So let's get on what I am. What I can do and what I can have is every Sunday night. Every Sunday night. For 5.5 years when she wasn't with me, not almost every Sunday night at 6 o'clock, I called her and we talked for a couple hours. Didn't matter if I was hungover, high, sicker than a dog, I called her because that's what I could have and that's what I could do at the time. And I knew what I was from standing in that and knowing that ultimately good will prevail, which I moved in and lived with my daughter for 5 years, and I just have the greatest experience with her and relationship now. And I had lunch with her the other day, and my grandson's going through a little bit of a problem right now, my great-granddaughter, and I was with all three of them in the living room getting ready for Halloween. And I was so blessed to be able to think, God, Doug, I did all this work, and here I am watching my great-granddaughter going through Halloween, and knowing I watched my grandson go through it, and I watched my daughter. I've seen it 3 times. How lucky am I? You don't get that from giving up and being negative. You only get it for looking for solution and moving forward. That's the only way you get it. And then on the way home, it said to me, the voice said, that's not true. That's not 3 times. I go, what the hell is that? It's 4 times that you've been through that. Because you forgot that you went through it when you were a little boy too. 4 times. But just to be able to sit back and to be able to see that and to know that, because the whole journey I've made is walking the line. It's always walking the line, and then you go to one side or the other. And people say, I like walking the line. I said, well, it ain't going to take too long, because when you're walking on that pole above the ground and one leg slips on the other side and one leg slips on that side, you are going to get up an awakening that you have to choose. And if you don't and get drug along that, slivers really hurt in that part of the body. Are you getting a visual? So get off the position and figure out what it is that you want to do. Now we're almost back to the beginning. The idea. You never know what you could create when you follow through with an idea. And the important thing to remember about that is on the journey is not all storms come to disrupt your life. Some come to clear your path. And what happens if you say no to something that's an idea that's beginning to take form because of the conditions that are around you, and you give up and don't do it. As opposed to what happens if you face the conditions, regardless of how terrible they are and how you tell yourself they're terrible, and you step in and do the idea. What happens? Well, what happens if you step in and do the idea is you moved to Red Deer 37 years ago, and everything and everybody that's speaking today is a direct result of that idea and stepping forward into it. Isn't it wonderful to have all these people with all this knowledge degree? Isn't it wonderful? And to know that all I did was follow through on some idea, along with some idea a few people in Red Deer had, including Karen there. I was on the regional board 37 years ago. So he had an idea, I had an idea, we met, and this is the result. Oh, it looks so easy, doesn't it? Okay. So let's go back into the world of condition. And this is what I want to leave you about the next time you have a good idea and you know it's right for you, but you allow something here that's trying to stop you, and this here is saying yes to the something trying to stop you. Has anybody ever had that happen? Has everybody ever wondered what would have happened if I just would have gone through it and done it? Well, this is what would have happened if I had gone through and done it right here today. But where I was in the fall of 1987, I've been talking with the group, and I'm pretty much committed. I'm going, and there I am in December, stopped at an intersection downtown, and I get hit and whiplashed. My daughter's head goes through the windshield. I get whiplashed. So I got a whiplash. Okay, well, that just adds to, well, maybe I'm not ready to go. Maybe this isn't the right time. So I got a whiplash. Okay, we're going to forge ahead, and now I got to sell my house. Put in my resignation for a job. I'm a CPA. I got an 8.5-year career at SAIT, professional accountant. I'm doing really well. I got to quit and walk away from all of that for what? Nothing. Nothing. Except an idea. I mean nothing but an idea. Okay, well, hey, does it get better? Oh, yeah. Then I went through my second divorce. I got 5 children, one with my first ex that I got to pay child support for, 2 were my second exes from her first marriage, and 2 I adopted from social services. So, yeah, if you're going to move, you're getting divorced, and this is happening. So I move up here with 2 boys as a single parent. No income, using my own resources, never got a paycheck until the following year. Had to put in my own money to subsidize the Sunday collection when I started. Because, 3 or 4 people can't support a minister. They can support an idea, which they did. And which I did. Okay, how does that sound? Does it sound easy? Well, let's add the cherry on top. That's a bad thing to call it, but you'll see in a minute. I went through a lot of addiction stuff, and of course, what an addict does is you just substitute one addiction for another. And when you're like me and been blessed to have 9 of them, it was easy. Oh, I got rid of that one. I got the other 8, that one, that one, that one. And then there's the last one that I had to work with. Well, what was that one? Oh, you kind of hard to hang back and hide from. Eating disorders. So I weighed 425 pounds. At least that's what the scale in the doctor's office redlined at. And I redlined it. So it was probably more. I would not go down to the cargo in the basement of the Red Deer Regional Hospital to get weighed because I just didn't need to do it. That was enough. So I'm going to Red Deer with this big form, 425 pounds, with a guy that's still not refined Well, I'm still not, but I'm working at it. And I'm going to teach a healing philosophy, and I look like this. So I had to go through a lot with that because there's no way to hide from that. And so what I realized and what the selling point for me was, and the voice was there very clear. I'll never forget it. Doug, you've done a lot of work, a lot of healing, and you can help a lot of people. The rest will come. And I made the decision to come here. So behind every decision that ends up with a lot of great things like this, there's always something that most people don't know about. That's the something that most of you don't know about what I went through. And I noticed Tim's sitting in the back smiling like a skunk eating turkey manure because he knows exactly what I'm talking about, don't you, Tim? Yeah, there's no secret here. But you see, you can't understand that with respect to this condition and outpicturing unless you've been through it. However, you all can understand it because you all go through positions like this in your life. It's just a matter of going back to know that doing this and making those transformative changes is tough. It's not pretty. Ask the caterpillar what it thinks about being a butterfly. Not much. It's beautiful, except what you had to go through in between. It's ugly. And sometimes it's ugly. But always know that that's the part of the experience of life at the real depth is a purification of the soul. It's getting rid of any excess false ideas we've accepted and letting go and trusting that the divine will give us what it is that we need to do at any given point in time to move forward. Because it's all about moving forward. If you haven't noticed that, somebody dies, but we're here tomorrow. So let it go, step into the newness, and await what beholds you, because if you've been working to any degree, the gems have been planted and you reap them along the way. So I keep a close watch on this heart of mine. I keep my eyes wide open all the time. I keep the ends out for the ties that bind, because you're mine, I walk the line. I walk the line for me, and I know that you walk the line for you, and I can hardly wait to see what happens next. And so it is. Thank you. Thank you. I guess it took a little bit more than half an hour, but I noticed there was no hooks or people coming to get me off. Oh, yeah, I'm supposed to do this, right? Oh, okay. This is the hook.
Well, I thank you. There was some hooks in there, actually. The threshold of a dream, because I think every day we get up, we're on the threshold of a new dream. And what was it? The three: release the past, dark night of the soul, the line we walk, and the three no's: no justifying, no comparing, and no blaming. No attachments to outcomes. So thank you. That was very informative. And now I get the honor of introducing Reverend Judy. Now, Reverend Judy came into Science of Mind teaching 33 years ago in November of 1992. She immediately began taking classes with Reverend Doug and continued taking every class offered, including practitioner training, completed in May of 1996, just as Reverend Doug was leaving his Red Deer ministry to move to Calgary. Reverend Judy loved doing practitioner work, and when Reverend Leslie Scott Harold began teaching the ministerial program, she signed up, completed the program, and was issued her ministerial license in 2002. She became a staff minister with the Red Deer Center, then assistant minister and co-pastor with Reverend Valentine. She has served our center for many years, teaching and practicing and teaching, as Ernest Holmes expresses it. She particularly loved teaching science of mind classes. I know a couple people took your classes, and obviously you must have loved it because they love teaching, hearing it from you. She trained 6 practitioners and 1 minister, our beloved Reverend Joanne. She is now retired, spending her time at home and visiting with her husband, Norris Campbell, now approaching his 91st birthday in Bethany Extended Care Center, who also started coming to the center in November 1992. They spent many years in classes together and participated in a mastermind group together for several years before becoming a couple and finally married. She expresses gratitude for the love and friendship she has enjoyed throughout the years at the center, and especially to her first teacher, Reverend Doug, who kept her coming back for more, and for the continuing support of Reverend Valentine, Rev Tress, and Reverend Joanne. So, welcome.
Can you help me move the chair over more into the middle? Thank you. Yes. If I stood while I was doing my talk, it would be 5 minutes maximum.
How's that?
That's great, thank you. Yeah. I press a button. All right. Sounds like I'm turned on and ready to go. And I promise you, my talk will probably be quite a bit shorter than 20 minutes. And, well, no, there's no real reason for that. I just didn't prepare a Sunday morning talk, let's say. The message, God is at the center of it all, came directly to me while I was going through cancer treatment six years ago. And while that was going on, because I was kept putting it off, by the time I went to a doctor and was diagnosed, I had stage 3 uterine cancer. Not a good thing, and apparently a form that was supposed to be quite progressive. So I started off with not great expectations. Before I went in for surgery in June of that year, first of all, I had been here at the center 5 days a week, and I had been taking care of a lot of the business of the center and keeping the doors open. And I had a lot that was in my head that someone else was going to need to know about. So it was a big winding up of things for me, trying to put on a reasonable document in the computer what went on at different times of the year and what needed to be done ahead of time, all that sort of stuff. So getting that arranged, and I was 79 at that time, and I thought, well, this is one way. If this hadn't happened, I would probably still be coming to the center 5 days a week and doing the same things that I was doing before. This gave me an exit plan, and that was pretty cool. And it worked out quite well. I got through the surgery and started doing chemo and did 3 of those. And when my face turned into one big rash, they took me off of chemo and whatever. Then I wound up going for radiation treatments 5 days a week for 6 weeks, and that was okay. And you know the blessings of our people, our family, and our lives. Nora's sister-in-law lived in Beaumont, and she's a wonderful lady. And she invited me to stay in her home for that 5-6 weeks of treatment. So I'd be at her place 5 days a week. She would drive me in and out from her place just south of Beaumont, in and out to the Cross Cancer Institute 5 days a week, most of it during the winter. And so they're a huge blessing. Otherwise, I would have been staying in a motel or something of that sort. I don't know why they wouldn't let me do the chemo or the radiation in Red Deer. I think there was one phase of it that Red Deer didn't have. Whatever, old news. But the big thing is that while I was going through all of these things and not feeling good all the time, really, the chemo was the worst, but I came up with a slogan, I could call it, that got me through it. And that was, God is at the center of it all. And that is still my go-to. If God is at the center of it all, that means all is exactly as it should be. And many of you who were here when I had finished that and was back doing my normal ministerial things know that, first of all, I started calling it Can Serve. That the experience of cancer served me in some way. First of all, it made me far more understanding of people going through difficulties of any kind. And second, it simply reinforced my faith in this philosophy. God is at the center of it all. And if that is so, then nothing is too hard to handle. Ernest Holmes, bless that man, he said so many wonderful things, and I always have to have a few quotes, but I just have to find them. He said, the mind is a magnet, and we attract that with which we identify the self. In order to get the most out of life, we must learn consciously to change many of our habitual thought patterns. This is not easy, for our old thought patterns cling to us with great tenacity. Sound familiar, Doug? But being thought patterns, they can be reversed. If you are filled with fear, refill yourself with faith, for faith always overcomes fear. And that was, well, one more, Ernest Holmes. All the power of the universe is with you. Feel it, know it, and then act as though it were so. That's such a simple statement. All of the power of the universe is with you. Feel it, know it, and act as though it were true. That sums up the whole philosophy. And God at the center of it all got me through some rough times. And Norris, bless him, who is now, he turns 92 2 weeks from today, 91, pardon me. But he was my rock. Between Barb, sister-in-law, and Norris, they made my Can Serve experience a growing experience. And bless them both. Norris, when I felt like I couldn't eat, drive down to the Dairy Queen and pick me up a milkshake. I could always manage a milkshake. But that's, going through a challenge of any kind, and I'm sure every person in this room has gone through some major challenges. We grow through them. We learn through them. If we accept them as an experience that can be beneficial. When I was first diagnosed and I saw the surgeon in Edmonton, and I said, well, I guess it's better me than some young woman with a family at home. So that was kind of where I started. When the why me came up, for me, that helped. That by me having that experience, maybe some young woman with a young family might have been spared. If there's got to be X percentage of the population get this, well, let me be one of them, because I'm already pretty senior at 79. So that's kind of where I started. But what I learned through that whole experience, and learning how what we consider a devastating illness can be a blessing. That it isn't a tragedy, that it's just something that you do with as you can and let it serve you. We don't have to moan and groan, and we can celebrate a family. With Barb and I, pardon me, I got these sniffles. With Barb, Norse's sister-in-law and I, and there's some history there too. Her husband, Norse's brother, had passed away back in, I think it was 2005. Not long after the four of us did a Panama Canal cruise together. But on that cruise, and this isn't what I prepared. Believe me, this is not the talk I prepared. But during that cruise, we were sitting over our lunch, and Barb and Bob were sitting across from Norris and I, and so Barb started choking. And I said, "Barb, are you in trouble?" And she nods her head. Now, I don't know how to do the Heimlich maneuver, but guess what? Something in me did know how. I was around behind Barb. One push, her food came up neatly on her plate, and that was it. And she credited me afterwards. She said, "You know, you've saved my life." And I don't know if I did or not, but she felt like that. So here we are. It created a special bond between the two of us. Norris and Bob didn't even know anything had happened. Oh, what can I say? They were busy with what they were talking about. Anyway, it was kind of funny. But the things that come up in our life that maybe didn't seem super important at the time, and to me that didn't seem important at the time. It was simple. I did what needed to be done and sat down, and Barb and I both continued eating our lunch. And it was, but I was so blessed to be in that place and to know that there is a power within us that can come to us and work through us when something needs to be done. I know Reverend Doug's been in a similar experience with his mountaineering. I remember the story of the hiking partner who had the heart attack while you were with him on the mountain. And you made it. You got him down and to a medical facility. So I come back to God at the center of it all, and then it all makes sense. You know that if you accept that, even if you don't like what you're going through at the time, that great good may unfold from it. Like my relationship with Barb. Who could know that 15 years later, she would be driving me in and out to the Cross Cancer Institute 5 days a week for 5.5 weeks, including Christmas. I was able to get back here on the weekends and to get to my spiritual food at our center. But you know, this is about our teaching. It is about a life-changing experience. It's about knowing that the life-changing experience we have had by studying this philosophy doesn't end with us, that we spread it wherever we go. I go and visit Norris at Bethany nearly every day. I won't be able to go today because at my visiting time, my cleaning lady, who usually comes Saturday morning, will be at my house this afternoon. But the ladies I visit with, going to Norris's room and coming back, I've formed some close relationships with. And I know that the teaching and the learning that I got in science of mind, starting with Doug, he must have been a good teacher. You know, you know what? Here I'm going off track again. But just the fact at the time I started going, because a friend bugged me and bugged me and bugged me. Actually, he was had been a real estate client. You got to go to this center. You got to go to this place. Center for Positive Living, it was called at the time. So eventually I went. I went once, and you must have said something that got to me, because even though I was working 7 days a week, I never missed a Sunday if I could help it. I started taking classes and never missed a class if I could help it. I wound up doing, at that time we had a 4-year curriculum, and the first year was set Science of Mind 101, 102, 103, 104, 4 8-week units. And then you did the second year, which had some options in it, whatever. But I wound up doing first year twice and second year 3 times before the practitioner program came up. And that was pretty spectacular. And thanks for hanging around Red Deer until I got through that, by the way. I appreciate that. And then we had another minister for a couple of years, and then we got a minister who was qualified to teach the ministerial studies. Did I want to be a minister? Heavens, no. But I wanted to keep studying science of mind and go a little deeper. So I registered for the ministerial program. Then it comes, well, you're going to write the exam. Oh, well, I guess I like to finish what I start, so I'll write the exam. Are you going to go to Asilomar and do that last 5 days of 9 to 5 classes? I don't know. What the heck. And Reverend Leslie Scott Harold, who was the teacher of that program, landed in the hospital with back problems. And he said, Judy, will you teach this last few classes for me? I taught those classes and I was hooked. So my thing was, if I have to become a minister to teach science of mind, I'm going to be a minister because I have to teach this. That was what was tremendously important to me, was to be able to teach this philosophy so I could help other people change their lives the way Doug and other teachers had helped me. And that is probably all I've got to say, except once more, God is at the center of it all. And so it is.